So again, my name is Gwen Sorley. Today we're going to be talking about Play Attention's latest version, 6.4.1, and we're going to chat about the new upgrade, the features and enhancements we have available. First, I want to start with just talking about some of the new features, listing them here for you. We're going to discuss transition time, sharper graphics, touchscreen capability, a new statistic, which is very exciting, which is recovery time, enhanced academic bridge, and our online session rating scale. So first, let's talk about the three top items that were in that list. We're going to talk about how we've now incorporated transition time for you, sharper graphics, and touchscreen capability. In order to show this to you, I'm going to go ahead and do a different share here. So I'm going to do a new share. And you should be able to see this new screen right now. Hopefully you see your game is loading. Does everyone see that? If you would just type Y for yes, then I would know you are able to see the actual video. Okay, great. Thank you, Athena. All right, so you'll notice here that we have, before you start an actual activity, you're going to have a little pause and it says your game is loading. Get ready to focus. It doesn't last long, but you will notice it's a little bit longer than you may be used to. And this is a really good time to talk about transition, to help yourself or your child or your students get used to transitioning from one situation to another, because a lot of times we're just rushing from one to another and we're not taking that moment to prepare ourselves to transition into a new activity. And that's why there's a lot of emotional difficulties when they're transitioning. So this is a good opportunity for you to first talk a little bit about how they performed last time, or reflect. If you're an adult using the program, you can reflect on how you performed last time. It's also a good time to just get yourself used to doing a couple of deep breaths before moving into a new activity. So this is something I want you to keep in mind, that you're going to use that loading, please wait, as a time to practice patience, reflection, and getting prepared for your next activity. Now you'll notice on the screen, I've also shown you a couple of the activities. The first one that you saw was our attention stamina advanced version. And now this is your time on task advanced. And you can see that the graphics are enhanced. They're sharper. There's a few more intricacies in the graphics themselves. So you are going to notice that in one of the features or enhancements in your upgrade. So far we've talked about that transition time and enhanced graphics. Now we're also going to talk about the fact that you can now use touchscreen. And I think there are a few activities where this is really beneficial. One, of course, is short-term memory. So now instead of using the arrow keys, you can actually use the touchscreen and do the sequence. You can push the corresponding buttons using your touchscreen if you do have touchscreen capability on your computer. Also, what I want you to notice about short-term memory is that we have placed arrows on the different buttons, and that will help your students or yourself, if you're working as an adult on your own, if you have any difficulties with color. If you're colorblind, we have added those arrows just to make it a little bit more distinct. So two things here to keep in mind. We've added the arrows, and you also now have touchscreen capability. Now, visual tracking, you could also use touchscreen. So as those blocks start appearing and coming towards you, instead of using your mouse or your touchpad, which I don't recommend the touchpad on this one because it is a little bit difficult to get there in time. But if you're using a mouse now and you would prefer to use touchscreen, you can do that. One thing I want you to keep in mind, though, when you're looking at determining if you should use touchscreen on this particular activity. This one I also use with my clients for that small motor control, because you do have to click in a very specific location. So if you are using visual tracking to work on small motor control and visual tracking and attention and pattern recognition and memory, then you definitely want to just continue using the mouse, because the mouse is going to allow you to work on that small motor control. I think this is another activity that's good for your touch screen. If you have any of our mental math activities, we do have mental math, both addition and subtraction, for first grade and second grade. Once you're focused and paying attention, you're going to be able to expose the problem on the screen. And then once you're fully attentive, you get to see the entire problem, arithmetic problem, and then you'll see a series of selections on the side, and you can simply touch your response. So if you would prefer to use your touch screen for your mental math activities, you can do that. Another one that's very similar to this one that many of you probably have is social skills. And so social skills is another one that I find is really a good one for that touchscreen capability. Now, we also have a new statistic that's called recovery time. And recovery time is the average amount of time it takes for you to regain attention after it's lost. So let's say you're doing time on task, and you know that once you are focused and in your peak attentive state, you're able to drive that. If you're doing the level 1, let's say the bronze level, you're able to drive that forklift driver across the screen and pick up a crate. If you get distracted, it will freeze. And then that means you're out of your peak attentive state. We are calculating the amount of time it takes you to restart that little forklift driver, right? To regain your attention to a point where you can activate that forklift driver. So over a game, over a cognitive exercise, we are calculating the average amount of time it takes you. Once you lose your attention, how long does it take you to regain that attention? And there are a lot of important things you can learn from recovery time. One, it will allow you to assess which cognitive skills are more difficult for an individual. I'm going to show you one of my students, and you're going to notice that his recovery time in attention stamina is much better than his recovery time in visual tracking. And so that is really important information that we can use in order to pinpoint what is going on in visual tracking. Why is it so difficult for this individual to regain his attention once it's lost? So that's really good information. Also, it allows you time to reflect on exactly why it was longer or shorter. So that comes up with a lot of emotion regulation, stress, anxiety, because oftentimes, and you probably know for yourself, some of these activities may be more difficult for your clients or for your students. You may notice that they have a little bit more anxiety when starting short-term memory or when starting time on task, because it's simply a more difficult activity for them. And we can determine and really have that conversation and start developing metacognition, getting them thinking about their own thinking. How do you feel during this activity? Why are you getting so anxious? How can you control that anxiety? And so a lot can be gleaned from just recovery time alone. It also allows you an opportunity to recognize behaviors that are not conducive to good attention. So you'll notice a correlation if you're doing the behavior shaping. and you are keeping track of self-distracting behaviors, the fidgeting, the nail biting, skin picking, chewing on their shirts. A lot of times you've probably noticed that those behaviors are more prevalent in the activities that are harder for them or more challenging for them. And so you can actually see a correlation between the increase of that fidgeting behavior or the skin picking behavior, along with an increase in the time it takes to recover. And so all of this is very important information, because with knowledge comes power. When they can truly understand and see how certain things like anxiety and fidgeting and skin picking and emotional outbursts are affecting their ability to maintain their attention and recover their attention. Once they know that and they can see that, then it's going to be much easier for them to start learning how to control it. Okay, so let me show you. I'm going to just skip right down to actually getting into the play attention program. And I'm going to let you see some of these statistics. So right now on my screen, you should see play attention itself. Now, right now, I am logged in as system administrator. Now, of course, you could log in as system administrator, or if you're a coach, you could log in as coach. If you're an adult client, you would also log into coach just to take a peek at all of your statistics. And right now, I'm looking at my student, and I'm going to just go ahead and review a session. Now, attention, stamina, and visual tracking. This is exactly what I wanted to show you. These two stats here, I'm going to scroll down and look at recovery time. So remember, attention stamina is in blue and visual tracking is in orange. All right, and then we come down here to recovery time. Do you see recovery time right here where I have my cursor? And you'll notice that you can see very clearly my orange line, which is indicative of visual tracking, is consistently much higher than attention stamina. My recovery time is much faster when I'm doing attention stamina compared to visual tracking. So that is really important information when we were talking about taking the information from a session and determining which activities are more difficult. What's happening during visual tracking that's making it so difficult for this student to regain his attention? And that is important information, and we can learn a lot from that. This will spark a lot of conversation and getting them to reflect on what's occurring and develop some strategies to control it. Okay, so you can even see here, so you can see that on March 16th, the recovery time was 4 seconds, 4.39 seconds. And that's compared to, let's say, on April 5th in attention stamina, the recovery time was 1.41 seconds. That's really significantly different when you look at that. Now, one concern I would have is this very last data mark here, where it took this student 7.9 seconds to actually recover attention. On average, it took almost a full 8 seconds to recover. So this might have been a particular session where the student had an emotional meltdown that they just could not recover from. Or it could have been a time where there was something really distracting them, or maybe they came into the session and there was something bothering them from the start. So all of this is important information. And remember, you have a notepad, so you can make notes about the particular session. And this would also be good information to put into the journal so they can record that and keep track of that. So a lot of things that you can learn from recovery time. And I think that this is a stat you're really going to enjoy having as part of your program. Now, next, I want to talk about enhanced academic bridge. So If you are not using Academic Bridge yet, this is really important for you to start thinking about how to incorporate Academic Bridge. Now, one thing you'll want to keep in mind is that Academic Bridge typically does not activate for you until after 12 sessions, because we do want to make certain that you have fundamental mastery of all of the exercises before you start using Academic Bridge. Remember, on Academic Bridge, you're not looking at the screen. You're not actively engaged with the screen characters and the activity on the screen like you are in the other cognitive exercises. This is where you're actually doing real homework or office work. Or I have one woman I work with, she's in her 70s and she's a day trader. And she uses Academic Bridge while she's day trading. So she's always at her peak attentive state when she's making her trades. So you can do a variety of activities during Academic Bridge. But again, this is all about transfer and generalization, asking you to take all of the information or all of the skills you've learned within Play Attention and actually apply them to your real work. Okay? Now, what's exciting about this new version of Academic Bridge is that we have separated it from the cognitive skills exercise main menu. So this is a separate entity now. And that means that you can now do an entire session just with Academic Bridge. So some of the families I'm working with now, they have a schedule where they do 4 15-minute sessions per week. And many of them do their sessions early in the morning or early afternoon. So the one particular family I'm thinking about, they do their sessions before school. And so they get that 15 minutes in before school, then the children go to school, and then they come back home. And when it's homework time, they log back into Play Attention and they do homework, maybe not all the subjects, but they do at least a couple of subject areas with Academic Bridge running in the background. So again, this is a way to do Academic Bridge just as a complete separate entity. And I think that's really important for many of you, because I know sometimes you'll get into your session and Sheer Genius has selected Academic Bridge for you. So you might have time on task and visual tracking and Academic Bridge, but you're not prepared. You don't have your work there that you wanted to do. So this will give you an opportunity to simply select Academic Bridge when you want to do it. So you can select it during one of your regular sessions. So do your regular Play Attention session and then go ahead and do Academic Bridge, or you can just do an entire session just with Academic Bridge turned on. Your time is now separated out. So you're going to have the total amount of time that you've worked within Play Attention, which remember, you're going to want to track because we're looking at graduation. Graduation usually takes around 40 hours total. But when you start introducing something like Academic Bridge, I have some clients who are actually using Academic Bridge for perhaps 30 to 45-minute sessions. And so that time is actually separated out. So when we're looking at graduation, we're really looking at the time within the specific cognitive skills. And then you can think of your Academic Bridge time as kind of like your bonus time. Okay, so it's separate in time. It also allows you to document what activity you're working on now. So if your child comes home consistently with math homework and you're going to do math with the body wave system on, then you will have a Academic Bridge activity called math homework. Or if you are doing some databasing from your office, or if you have to write reports. I know a lot of my adult clients, they have a lot of paperwork. And so we incorporate Academic Bridge into their reports. Or I have one client who is a high school English teacher, and we incorporate Academic Bridge into grading papers. And so you can actually type grading papers, and that will be one of your exercises. And we can look at how your different activities affect your attention. So it's going to allow you to determine, again, which activities, and this time it's academic or work related activities, are more difficult for you, are more challenging for you. If Marlise goes in and she's doing academic bridge, and consistently when she's writing a report, her attention is very low compared to when she's just reading a novel and her attention is really high, we can see that there's a difference between the two. So it then will give us an opportunity to reflect on strategies she can use. How do you feel while you're doing your reading or while you're reading that novel compared to how you feel when you're writing those reports? And a lot will come up about emotions and anxiety and stress, once again, just like our recovery time. And again, once you become aware of these things, you can use that to develop skills, to develop strategies, to have that awareness so that you can control it at will. And it can also give you an awareness of what distracts you during an assignment. So if you want to do and document doing homework in the kitchen compared to doing homework in a quiet homework area and see how the attention is different, that might be a really good learning experience. Or I know many of you will say, well, he says that his homework is easier for him if he has YouTube on. And so you can kind of do some comparisons there as well. So let me go ahead and show you. I'm going to go back into play attention so that I can show you, and hopefully I'll show you correctly this time, show you how it's documented now. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom here of my report. And you see that here's all of the academic bridge reporting. So you can see each day, March 17th, we did math homework, did it for 20 minutes, and we were 65% attentive. On March 15th, math homework again, 56% attentive. On March 11th, we did math homework and we were 70% attentive. So when you look at those percentages, again, you can look at, was it math? Was it reading? Was it science? And you can compare the type of activity and how well they were able to pay attention. You also might want to look at the length of time. So if you give yourself or your child or student an assignment that takes 20 minutes, and consistently when the assignment is 20 minutes, their attention is 50% or less. But if you give them an assignment that is, let's say, 12 minutes, they are consistently 75% attentive or higher. And so that's really important information. Now we know that their stamina, their attention stamina right now is right around that 12-minute mark. And we can set that as a benchmark and then gradually build them up. So yesterday you were able to do 12 minutes. Let's go for 12 minutes and 30 seconds and gradually build up that attention stamina over time. So again, as we break this up, it's easier for you to determine what areas you can improve. All right, let me go ahead. So right now, remember, I'm logged in as system administrator. This would be your view as system admin or as a coach, but I'm going to show you the student view as well. But one thing I want to show you before I go to the student view is how to edit as a coach or as system admin, how to edit that individual. So I'm going to go to my user accounts and I'm going to select my student here. And I'm going to edit that student. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Now you're going to notice here that again, Academic Bridge is no longer in your main menu activities. It is over to the side. So if you see Academic Bridge enabled, and you see right now it has a green check mark, that means it's been enabled. Again, it will automatically enable after 12 sessions, but if you want to go in there and turn it on because you have it off right now, you can go ahead and edit that student and enable it. Now you can go ahead and set up activities right here for that student, okay? So far we've done reading homework, math homework, science report, piano, I can add another activity for this student. I know that today we're going to work on a social studies activity. And then I can save that. I can delete these, and then I'm going to save the student. Now, that's important because when we go into Academic Bridge as that student, you're going to see that you can automatically select those items from the dropdown. But if you've suddenly added something that isn't in the dropdown, it's okay. You can add it at that moment. So I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log in as my student. Okay. All right. Now, another thing that you're going to notice is that if I go to the game menu, I see all of the games that are assigned to me for today, but I don't see Academic Bridge. So Academic Bridge now is at the top right-hand side, and it's highlighted in yellow. If it is turned on, if it is activated for this student, you're going to notice that it's highlighted in yellow. Okay. Now remember, I can do my session and then I can go to Academic Bridge, or I can just log in and not do any of the prescribed assignments for today. I could just do Academic Bridge, just that alone. So you could do your regular session, and then later on in the day or the next day, you could just do an entire session with Academic Bridge. And when I select as student Academic Bridge, remember, there's a lot I can set up here as far as what the interface is going to look like, but I can select the activity. The activity cannot be left blank. You have to put something in that activity. I'm going to select that drop down and see, these are all the activities we looked at in the system admin side or the coach side. Reading homework, math homework, science report, piano, or social studies activity. We just added that social studies activity. Now, if you don't want to do any of those activities, you want to do something different, you can go ahead and type in, I'm going to put in practice sight words. You can go ahead and type in a new activity that's not in your dropdown. And then, of course, you can go ahead and select your background, your foreground. How long are you going to work? So this is something to keep in mind when we're talking about if 20 minutes seems too long right now, but 12 minutes seems like a good amount of time, then you can say, okay, we're only going to do this activity for, let's say, 10 minutes today. And then you can gradually build them up over time. Or, of course, you can always select unlimited and determine when to turn it off. You can also select how often you want to hear the reinforcement, because remember, if you have not done Academic Bridge yet, when you are in your peak attentive state while you're doing your academic work, you're able to push that red bar up above the midline. But since you're not looking at the screen, you're either going to hear a tone or a voice say good, great, or a certain high-pitched tone for good reinforcement. And you can say, I want to hear that every 5 seconds, or every 15 seconds, every 30 seconds, or every minute. So you can make all of those determinations still, just as you do. So you are going to be able to still change the interface as you do now in your current version, or and you can also add what particular activity you're working on. So really exciting. I hope you're excited about that component, because I feel like a lot of you may not have been utilizing Academic Bridge to its maximum. And so now you're going to be able to really plan out how to use Academic Bridge. And like I said, just do Academic Bridge completely on its own. I should have shown you also, I'm going to actually go back and show you the fact, because I did not point this out. We talked about it, but I didn't show it to you, where if we log in as system admin or coach, remember, you can do that as well. And we look at our total time, you'll notice here that you have the total time in the play attention games. Those are the specific activities. And then separate from that, you have your total time in Academic Bridge. So really exciting. I hope you do utilize that. And if you have questions about what types of activities you should be using, then that's a good time to reach out to your executive function coach and have that conversation. But what I want you to keep in mind, especially if you're working with a younger student, when you select the different activity that you want to use, you want to select an activity or an assignment that is on their independent level. You don't want to spend this time teaching them how to do math or how to read. You're teaching them how to pay attention to the math, how to pay attention to the reading. So that's really critical to keep in mind. Again, if you need help with this process, make certain you reach out to your executive function coach. All right, I am going to change my view again here. And we're back to our slides. Now, we do have an online rating scale now, a session rating scale. Some of you are actively using the online session rating scale. Remember that rating scale is that behavior rating scale that you use during an activity. There are some of you who have had play attention for years and years and years, and you still have the wet erase board. So I wanted to take this opportunity to point out that we do now have an online session rating scale, and you can pull this rating scale up on your phone or on a tablet or on a separate computer while you're doing your play attention session. So I'm going to show you where that is, and I can include a direct link if you would like on an email follow-up with this recording. So when you go into our help desk, you'll notice right here on the home page, on the solutions page, there's the session rating scale. You can select it in English or you can select it in Spanish. So I'm going to go ahead and select it in English. And it's going to pull up the rating scale right here. I'm going to select on the link. And here's that rating scale. So if you're used to actually using that physical wet erase board, you can now, again, I have it on my phone and I just pull that link up on the phone and I'm able to access this rating scale during my session. And so you will just go ahead and as you're observing behaviors, you will just do the plus sign every time you see the behavior. And then once the activity ends, you're going to take the data from your tracker here, and you're going to put it into your play attention system. And then you start a new game. So you're going to reset and start a new game. You notice all of my numbers go to 0. So if you want to have this link, make certain you watch for our email follow-up, and I'll make certain that you get that. If you miss it for some reason, make certain to reach out to your executive function coach. Jean, I will include this in a separate email. Like I said, it will come along with the email with this recording. Okay. All right. So that is really helpful. And I think a lot of you will enjoy using that instead of that wet erase board. It just is much more functional and it makes things a little bit smoother for you. So that is everything that we are going to go over today. So lots of new features to look forward to. Again, sharper graphics, that transition time that I really want you to take advantage of to help them transition, do a couple of breathing exercises, perhaps do a little reflection, get them used to not rushing from one thing to another, but actually taking some time to transition. Then also that touchscreen capability, which is really exciting, especially for activities like short-term memory and social skills. You have that new statistic, recovery time, which is going to be really interesting for you to keep track of, and that enhanced academic bridge. I hope all of you are thinking about different activities you can now incorporate and now track with academic bridge. And this is really important too if you have someone who has test anxiety or subject anxiety. They might have reading anxiety or math anxiety. Gives you that opportunity to see concretely how that anxiety is affecting their performance and how to work through that. So really exciting to use that academic bridge as a separate session. And then you also have your online rating scale. Now, if you would like to upgrade or find out information about your personal upgrade, you can go to our shop to purchase the upgrade at shop.playattention.com. Or if you have questions about upgrading or you need assistance, you can call 828-676-2242. The number's right at the bottom. That's our tech support line. Or of course, you can email tech support at playattention.net. And they will be happy to assist you. So shop.playattention.com, where you can actually purchase it, or you can just call tech support and get a little bit more guidance on the upgrade itself and find out more about your specific upgrade for your system. Now, I want to mention, don't forget that live online training sessions are now available. So if you have a situation where maybe you have, you're working with your child and you want one of our personal trainers to actually do a live session with your child, or maybe you're an adult and you're using the program yourself, and you would just like one of our live personal trainers online with you while you do a full play attention session and talk to you about progress and help you set objectives and help you reflect on the progress you've made thus far. Those live online training sessions are available to you, and you can get more information from us, from your executive function coach, and those are available in the shop as well. Our next webinar for current clients is going to be about Mindful Media Player. This is a new application and we're really excited to release it. It is going to be released in December, and the Mindful Media Player will actually allow you to import media files, whether they're simply audio files or they may be video files. You import those into the media player and you're going to have your body wave system on. And as long as you are in the present moment, as long as you are relaxed and in the present moment, you are going to be able to play that media file or the video file or audio file. If you start getting stressed or anxious or leaving the present moment, then that media is going to stop and wait for you to bring yourself back. And the reason we're calling this Mindful Media Player is because we are going to have a full mindfulness library that you can subscribe to. So you can pull in affirmation videos, you can pull in breathing exercises, and you're going to be able to incorporate those into your body wave system so that you are practicing mindfulness, but while actually in the present moment. If you're no longer in the present moment, then you're not going to be able to continue that mindfulness practice. So you incorporate your breathing exercises, your affirmation exercises, your gratitude exercises, while getting real-time feedback regarding your ability to stay in the present moment. So watch for that next webinar. It is going to be next month. If you want me to send you an email update specifically about that next webinar, as soon as we have the date available, just type in mindful and I'll make certain that you get a personal invite to that webinar and you don't miss it. Thank you so much, everyone. It's always a pleasure to speak to current clients. I hope everyone's doing wonderfully. Remember, though, you do have unlimited support. So if you need any guidance, or if you've gotten a little bit off track and you haven't been using your play attention system consistently, and you need that little nudge, or you need a few little reminders on how to get back on track, that's what your executive function coach is here for. If you want to do another assessment to kind of look at how far you've come, maybe we could do a focus or brief assessment. That's what the executive function coach is there for. So make certain you do reach out to us so that we can help you. And again, if you want one of our live personal trainers to do a session with you, that's available as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. If you do have questions, please type them in there. You've been quiet group so far, but if you have questions, let us know. If you want assistance in upgrading your system, please do reach out to technical support or visit our shop. And we look forward to working with you on this upgrade and helping you with these new features very soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.